Hey everyone, I'm back after 3 long weeks, and I'm excited to tell you that this is actually a part of a collab with my friend. We've been working on this for the past few weeks, and I'm happy to tell you that this series is finally complete, and the part 1 is actually on their channel. I'm going to link it in the description box below, and it's also at the end credits. It's really such a great opportunity to be working with them. I had so much fun while writing, so I think it's right for you guys to anticipate more from the future. I think that's all. Please enjoy the video. I love you guys and thank you for always waiting for me.
Cheating is a taboo relationship that was made by two people who agreed to get into it, and Akashi understood that what he had with 𝐡𝐚𝐤𝐤𝐮𝐼 could never end up well. Yet he did it anyway. What's worse from that was the fact he kept coming back to the same new routine. He kept coming back to the moment he gave affection to someone else that was not 𝐭𝐞𝐱𝐭𝐬, for several months behind his lover's back, and continued the relationship even when he knew that it needed to be stopped. Akashi Kiji did it without thought, nor remorse for 𝐭𝐞𝐱𝐭𝐬's well-being. But this was just too drastic. To know that such a peaceful area could suddenly be surrounded by chaos. Something was off. Akashi could feel it on every fiber inside his body. He was knocked back to reality when he heard someone scream. All the panic voices inside his head and gut-wrenching feelings inside his stomach and everything else stopped the second a familiar cry could be heard throughout. Akashi's heart thumped so fast as he scanned the whole area. He knew who it was. He knew whose voice it belonged to. Getting out of his car immediately, he ran towards the commotion, and when his feet finally brought him in front, he was met with the sight of 𝐭𝐞𝐱𝐭𝐬's mother, the one who just let out a wretched scream of agony. He tried to understand what was happening in front of him. Her husband cradled a weeping woman. Her hand that adorned with some fine lines was now gripping tight on the cloth that her husband wore. Akashi wanted to ask what happened, why the woman that almost never showed any pain was now wailing like she just lost someone important. He wanted to know where his past lover is. Why isn't he here when her mother was losing herself? All those ugly thoughts keep churning in his head, down to his stomach. He wanted to throw up. Akashi could feel his heart stop beating for a second there when he scanned his surroundings on and on again. All these flashing lights of blue and red and the despaired wailing that could block all his senses. He couldn't think of anything else, as he wanted to believe that it was just a cruel joke. Now he knew he was just trying to comfort himself. Akashi never knew heartbreak. Akashi Kiji never knew how it feels to have his heart shattered into a million little pieces. Since he was 17, he had a lover that always took care of him. He had 𝐭𝐿𝐴, someone who devoted all of his life for him, even while chasing his own dream. 𝐭𝐿𝐴 makes sure that he could always be there by his side in a matter of seconds. There was no one as loyal as him. The man who got a lot of people standing in line just to get some attention from Akashi didn't have to be worried that someday the well-liked man would leave him. He didn't have to ask who he was for every few minutes because he knew damn well that 𝐭𝐿𝐴 would turn down everyone who showed him even a glimpse of interest. Even after all that, Akashi didn't particularly know when his feelings for 𝐭𝐿𝐴 started to vanish into thin air. There was just no spark anymore when he kissed him. No fiery flame that he usually felt when he pushed him to the bed and devoured him for the rest of the night. Something that used to fulfill his mind and soul satisfaction became just a physical necessity. This was worse than heartbreak. In a daze, it seemed like the balloon popped when it had reached the highest point, and all his hearing in his after that were the horrific screams, the boundless sounds of sirens, and the flowing stream of vehicles, these mindless chaos replaying in his mind, over and over. Akashi had already got a taste of how warm 𝐭𝐿𝐴's love was, how being loved by him made him believe that he was complete, and if he were to lose that man, that Akashi would lose himself again. Akashi always thought that he already fell put of love, but he always found himself looking at his new lover for the past one. Was this not loving him anymore when he couldn't stop crying to his name and there wasn't an answer? Was this not loving him anymore when the thought of 𝐭𝐿𝐴 leaving him forever made his whole body shook in fright? Was this not loving him anymore when he couldn't stop his tears and regretted his whole life like a sinner? Was this not love? When he knew that he lost everything because of himself and this was a sin he had to redeem for his whole life. When the funeral was held shortly after Akashi left the incident, he didn't expect to be blocked from Bokuto's parents' house, how his family members looked towards him with hostility and he was denied countless times from entering the area. Please, please don't cause such a ruckus on this day, let me in. The desperation, but subtle authority in his voice made a few people ahead of him back down a little. Akashi looked horrible, with a cold expression and dark circles underlining his eyes. The only thing that reduced his image from being completely stoic was the small bouquet in his arms, purple hyacinths tied beautifully together. Akashi cradled the flowers in his arms carefully like a lifeline, making his way inside with his long strides, but he felt his body ran cold when he couldn't see the casket they had supposedly arranged. In fact, everyone inside the room was already crying their eyes, staying in their respective places without hovering to the altar. No, something wasn't right. Frantic, Akashi put down the flowers, immediately ran with his tired feet to the altar full of white flowers, surrounding one picture frame of the lovely golden-eyed man. The cries he kept to himself grew louder and everyone steered their eyes away because it was too pitiful. What does this mean? Akashi's confused tone erupted from the silent room, darting his eyes around until he felt like Bokuto's brilliant smile in the portrait was mocking his pathetic figure. The old man, who Akashi once regarded in the past as his future father-in-law, only cast at him a hollow gaze, ones that held no hopes but a deep agony. Bokuto's father had always been a warm man whose face was full of smiles, but today, he faced his Akashi with so much hatred before he mumbled under his voice. "This is no place for outsiders, escort this man out." Akashi's eyes widened before he clung to his hand, begging with a miserable voice. No, you know I'm not a stranger, let me see him please." The old man didn't stop, continued to brush Akashi away, a look of contempt washed over his face as his voice roared. "How come you only want to see my son now, when you treated him so lowly before by replacing him with another man?" He sneered, tears filled up his eyes to the brim before he continued. The old man didn't stop, continued to brush the desperate man away, a look of contempt washed over his face. "Don't be sad, you clearly wanted him out of your life by treating him like trash and now he's gone. Wonderful how a simple death brings so many solutions at one time. Tell me, Kiji, is he wrong for simply getting away from you?" The way the room fell in silence, the shock from everyone's face as the old man sobbed, hugging the small urn in his arms, and he collapsed to his knees, crying with every word he muttered. Please don't torture our son like this anymore. Why couldn't you tell him if he crossed the line, or you didn't need him anymore?" Our 𝐴𝐻𝐻 may be slow-witted at times, but he understood well the child would clearly understand that he was a nuisance and back off. "So why can't you just say it and let us take him back? We won't ask for more, just for our son to come home again." On the rainy night of the month, Bokuto 𝐴𝐻𝐻 and his ashes were scattered over the sea. Akashi didn't have a proper parting with him. At their last meeting, Bokuto left him with a whisper of love, all the while leaving Akashi in a daze of a train wreck. Maybe, this event was the shift of gear in Akashi's life that began to rotate his whole life into a tangle of tragedy. As Akashi reached his room, he carefully climbed to the left side of his bed. There wasn't a single ache in his body when he lay down. It made him wonder if he was able to gain his rest when he died. Was it comfortable? What was waiting for him in the afterlife? Would he be able to meet Bokuto? Did he meet a new person in the other life? Did he finally move on? It's funny how he's the one who left, but he's also the one who's left longing for the lover he cheated on. Alashi's eyes blinked softly, his erratic breath became calmer, and as sleep almost took over him, he heard the door creak. With such difficulties, his hand roamed to the bed lamp, turning on the light before his dull eyes felt like he regained its former brilliance when he could see almost clearly who was standing by the door. Akashi remembered him. Akashi remembered how Bokuto 𝐴𝐻𝐻 stood exactly like that every night he was with him, the joyful expression on his beautiful face. Akashi remembered how his golden eyes shimmered like the lantern they lit in New Year, How he could smell his significant scent. Akashi remembered how Bokuto took steps, closing the gap between the both of them, trying to communicate their love through body language. Akashi remembered him. Akashi remembered the person most dear to him. With the sounds of rustling, he swept open the comforter, exposing the unwrinkled spot beside him before his voice sounded hoarser than usual. "Come to bed, Cow, I've been waiting for you." He said the words he had longed to say even after the man parted from this world. No, even after, as soon as their breakup, he had longed to say those words. Akashi just longed the chance to call out to him. Akashi longed for his Bokuto counter. The man stood there for a while, watching him before he took his steps, and he had never felt this calm. It was enough to see the man again. It was enough for him to meet Bokuto for just a fleeting moment, even in his dream. Because the last time he met Bokuto, Akashi was still blinded in his own greed, his selfishness, his baggage. Now, he could love Bokuto Gaotarao freely. Akashi could love him without a shackle around his heart, where he was always bounded by guilt. And he would. Akashi would spend the rest of his life loving him, despite it meaning for his love to feed on his own freedom. "Why are you like this, Kiji?" Bokuto's voice was soft, fond like always when he talked to him, but between those cool tones, Akashi heard the crack behind it. Akashi pulled on his hand. Oh God. He could even touch this dream. Akashi didn't want it to end. "Dear God, don't wake me up," Akashi whispered, caressing the man's hand bigger than his own before placing a gentle kiss against it. Bokuto sat by the bed, watching his past lover display the affection he wished he could have until the end when he was alive. But it didn't matter now. "Throw me in hell, I don't care, but let me stay here for a while, just for a while." Bokuto's face was still like how Akashi stored in his memory. He simply couldn't forget the angelic face, every corner, the supple cheeks under his fingertips. He was real, at least. He seemed real. But why was he crying? Was it because of him again? Of course it's because of me. After a long time, his existence had never brought Bokuto happiness anymore. Even when he was visiting him in his dream, he was still hurting the man. So how could Akashi act selfish and ask God to give him more time to see him? Bokuto didn't want him. But Akashi couldn't afford it. He just missed the man too much that he couldn't stop caressing him, pampering him with all of his love, but he couldn't kiss him. Akashi couldn't when he looked like he was breaking down again. So with his thumb, he wiped his tears away as if he didn't wish for him to shed a tear again. But when Bokuto laid his cheek against Akashi's palm, he closed his eyes. "Why, Kiji, why?" Bokuto muttered, holding onto his arm while he cried. "Why are you tormenting yourself this long, Kiji? Why, won't you let me go?" Akashi smiled. He called him by his name. Bokuto didn't push him away coldly by refusing to call him by his name. "Because when I did, you ended up leaving me for real. I let you go and you left me without looking behind, so how could I repeat the same mistake? I can't afford to forget you. Hate me all you want, but let me cling to the memories of you in my head, because if I don't, I'll completely lose you." Bokuto's once mesmerizing eyes were red, tears streamed down his cheeks without a stop or flow. His lips trembled before a pitiful sob escaped from his lips. "I never hold grudges on you, Kashi. I don't need to hold any resentment on you when you're living your life like this. Why? I've let you go myself since forever ago, so why can't you live freely?" Bokuto watched the man who once appeared self-assured and confident became hollow of a shell, belonged to a weak-minded man. The man he adored became a man who spent his time reminiscing and regretting the past, looking for his face in everyone he meets. The man became so weak that Bokuto wanted to scream. Bokuto wanted to hate him for all the pain he has put him through, but can he really find it in himself to do that when Akashi plans to atone for the rest of his life like this? "I don't need your forgiveness because it won't bring you back to me. Only this way, I can keep you alive in my head. So don't look at me like this, please, Cow. If you easily forgive me, all the sufferings you endured will become useless." Akashi pulled his past lover into his arms. The soft body felt just right to hold. The seeping body warmth he always offered made his smile bigger. He got to hold the man close once again. This was the best gift he had in his whole life. He patted his back, gently running his hand through his dual-toned hair as Bokuto sobbed his way to his neck. It was warm. All the coldness he endured in each passing day after Bokuto left, went away. "Did you cry like this when I refused you?" Akashi asked, his arms tightened around the bigger man, preparing himself for whatever answer he might offer. Bokuto didn't open his lips, and that was an enough answer for him. But I can't do anything when I already lost you. The cold sea has swallowed your dust because your parents didn't want me to visit you at all. It's cruel, but I deserve it. Bokuto remained silent, wetting his shoulder with his tears while he listened to Akashi's soft voice. He continued to talk. I spent my days swimming by the shore, thinking that if I collect the water, I might have collected you. But you aren't here anymore. Akashi smiled wistfully, stroking Bokuto's back, and Bokuto listened to everything. He listened to how he called in a few shamans, the most ridiculous thing he ever thought he'd do. Bokuto thought he might want to erase him away from this house as if he was an evil spirit. But it was the opposite. Akashi called the shamans for them to grant his wish. He wished to have a dream about his latex lover. He wanted to meet him so much that he didn't care if it was a mere dream. He didn't care if they were lying to him. He didn't care if he looked like he was losing his mind. Akashi just wanted to see him again. He wanted to see Bokuto again where he was still breathing, alive in front of him, and Bokuto never wanted that. Bokuto never wanted Akashi to be attached to him this way. All the sourness in his bitter heart vanished when he saw a picture of them laid on the table, as if it was natural to have that. All the anger he had inside him dissipated when he strolled around the attic, thinking that Akashi might trash away his belongings, only to find the room was full of portraits, ones where he smiled brightly. Bokuto couldn't hate him when Akashi used his days devoting himself to a dead man, but his love never seemed to wilt. How Akashi searches for Bokuto in the eyes of every person he meets, in every place he ever visits, in everything that he does. What do you feel for me, Kiji? Bokuto needed to know so he can leave, but Akashi's answer couldn't make him stop crying. I feel dear to you, my love. Dear Bokuto. 𝐡𝐚𝐢𝐤𝐤𝐮𝐿 was his dearest lover, his favorite man, his cherished companion. Akashi learned his mistakes and he admitted that he didn't need the latter's forgiveness because he didn't deserve one. Take me away, please take me away from this longing, and I will pay all the hatred and anger you have for me. Because right now, I can't take it anymore. If this is how you wished for me to be punished, then you're really cruel. Listen, Kashi, I will do anything, but please don't turn your back on me. I can't continue living, but dying won't guarantee me into meeting you, because a man like me don't go to heaven. I can't meet you. Bokuto pushed his shoulders, meeting his red teary eyes while he forced herself to finally look at him. Bokuto resented him for pushing him away, but Bokuto had also dreamed of so much happiness with Akashi that the anger was hidden away. In the next life, I will find you and treat you better. In the next life, when I am a better person, when I am a better man, when I am a better lover, I belong to you and only you. I have so much planned. Bokuto choked on his own sobs. I wanted to be with everyone a little longer. Bokuto missed everything in this house, their house, from the deco, the fresh cotton, the smile of Akashi Kiji that was once directed at him, full of love only for him, that made his heart full. I wanted to see you change. I wanted you to change and live your best with your new man. I felt like a bad person for being jealous, even when we broke it off, even when your heart wasn't fully mine. I couldn't help but wonder if you'd feel the same for me when I'm gone. It didn't feel good at all. It didn't feel good at all when the love Bokuto offered was so pitiful, almost like he was a child who longed for his father who went to a losing battle. It didn't feel good when he didn't feel happy with this love. Bokuto didn't feel happy when the love Akashi offered was far too great for him. Then take me with you. But before Akashi could listen to more of it, his eyes grew tired and it was hard for him to stay awake. He watched Bokuto's beautiful face for one last time before all the strength he tried so hard to keep fled from his body. Akashi laid on his side, facing the empty spot in the huge bed, and when he realized that it was all a short dream, Akashi didn't move an inch, as he soaked all the pain and regrets that surged through his veins at the very moment he woke up. Akashi could feel it seep into his soul, the impact of Bokuto's death to him, how he was now nothing but a broken man, and he didn't even retaliate. He hugged all the rage and sorrow like an old friend. Because Akashi Kiji deserved every pain and wrath that this world would give to him.